Have you ever wondered about the details behind how sports teams travel between cities? Many people would assume that sports teams rented planes or had deals with particular airlines to transport them during the season. If you counted yourself in this group, well, congratulations! Your assumptions aren't too far from the truth. Today's video topic comes courtesy of commercial airline pilot and Simple Flying contributor Jack Hurstum, who has now flown a few charter sectors himself. And so today we'll discuss charter operations and how they differ from passenger operations when conducted by airlines. So, what is a charter flight in the first place? Well, a charter flight is an online sector flown by an airline using one of its planes, along with its pilots and crew. Two main differences exist between charters and regular revenue flights. First, charter sectors are not publicly available for purchase. Second, they aren't typically city pairs that the airline serves regularly. A charter flight can take place for a plethora of reasons. Among likely passengers, we have business people, politicians, musicians, soldiers, and sports teams. Every sports team has a logistics management department that liaises with different airlines. They negotiate availability and pricing packages once the upcoming season schedule has been announced. However, many teams, such as from Major League Baseball, NHL hockey, NFL football, and WNBA or NBA basketball, have multi-year agreements with one carrier. Once the team's travel needs are determined, the airline integrates the proposed charter schedule with the flying for whichever fleet will carry the team. Pilots and flight attendants can bid specifically for charter flights if they choose. And so, what are charter planes like? Well, charter flights are routinely flown with an airline's regularly configured passenger planes. In Air Canada's case, it's been flipped around a little. The airline's Jets aircraft configured for charter operations have been deployed on regular commercial flights in recent times. Nonetheless, we most often see smaller teams with fewer players, coaches, and travelling staff using jets like Airbus A319s. Medium-sized teams, baseball, basketball, hockey, use A321s and Boeing 757s. And then large teams, American football, use 767s, A330s, and 777s. Obviously, there's no hard and fast rule. The plane assignment depends on the agreement between the team and the airline. Though many charters are flown with normal planes, others use specially designated charter-configured planes. Every seat on these planes is a comfy, larger-than-average chair akin to a domestic first-class seat or better. The cabin has larger lavatories, tables between some of the chairs for eating or playing cards, and features fewer than 80 seats. From the outside, there's no way to tell the difference between this configuration and a regular passenger configuration, unless you've memorized aircraft registrations and their associated configurations. Live charter flights, when there are clients on board, hardly ever depart or arrive at passenger terminals. At most airports, charter flights are serviced at and depart from a fixed-based operator or FBO. These are miniature terminals that provide service to private jets but can also handle airliners when charters come into town. Pilots are provided details about the charter operation and meet an operations agent at a dedicated location in the passenger terminal. This agent then drives the pilots out to the FBO. Such is the case at nearly every large airport, since the FBO is separate from the terminal. When departing FBOs, charters are boarded using traditional air stairs. Traditionally, the team or other client buses pull up near the plane. The clients undergo the necessary security screening and then walk right on board. The process is rapid and efficient. The airline always has a coordinator who works with the client's handler and serves as the go-between for the flight crew and the client. Once the coordinator has the green light that everyone is on board, the FBO ramp crew closes the door, pulls the stairs, and marshals the plane off the ramp. Plane spotters can quickly identify a charter by its parking location at the airport. A Boeing 757 on the corporate ramp usually suggests that the plane is being used to transport a dedicated client. Likewise, the presence of an aircraft at the airport which seems out of the ordinary is another indicator. When a Boeing 777 shows up at the Green Bay Airport, the Packers are probably heading out of town or arriving home after a game. Savvy flight trackers can also use apps to identify flight numbers for their favorite sports teams. Since charter flight numbers are attached to the team's operations, determining the flight number used will grant access to track the team's travels for the entire season. For instance, suppose the San Diego Padres are finishing up a series against the Tampa Bay Rays. The Padres' next game is at home. A Padres fan could look up scheduled flights from Tampa to San Diego and easily find the flight number for the Padres charter. Charters are almost always 4-digit flight numbers starting with an 8 or a 9. For instance, Flight 8885 might stand out on the list of flights between Tampa and San Diego, thus making it clear which call sign the Padres are using that season. The same concept works for any team. One of the trickier parts of finding a charter is knowing which airports will be used for the departure and arrival. The example of Tampa to San Diego is pretty straightforward, since both cities have one major airport that makes sense for charters to arrive and depart from. Other cities are less predictable. For example, the San Francisco 49ers and teams playing them use San Jose Mineta Airport since it's closer to the stadium in Santa Clara. Boeing Field is generally used for charters into and out of Seattle rather than SeaTac. St. Louis Downtown Airport is used over the further Lambert International, and Love Field and Hobby are sometimes preferred over DFW and Bush Intercontinental in Dallas and Houston respectively. Multiple factors affect the airport used for charters, such as cost of service, maintenance availability, runway length, and distance to the client's destination. In the US market, all three major legacy carriers participate in charter operations for various sports teams and other clients. Cargo companies like Atlas Air also provide charter services for NFL football teams using Boeing 767 and 747 planes in dedicated passenger configurations. Additionally, some teams, New England Patriots or Arizona Cardinals, have dedicated planes, which they staff with flight crew to handle their travel operations. At the end of the day, charter flying at the airlines is very similar to normal operations, save for operating out of FBOs and flying between cities that the fleet and airline might not usually serve. Every rule that applies during passenger operations still applies during charters. One wrinkle of difference is that pilots don't have much control over on-time charter operations. As Jack notes, they have to wait for the clients, so if the baseball game goes into extra innings or the football game requires overtime, the flight will depart well after its scheduled time. This is of little consequence for the airline since the Department of Transportation doesn't hold airlines accountable for this late departure. Nor do the team's fans care either, so long as their team takes the field or the court as scheduled the following day. Did you know about these aspects of charter operations? Let us know by leaving a comment. Simple Flying publishes over 150 articles every week. If you're looking for the latest aviation news and insights, visit simpleflying.com.